Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special fireside chat with Her Excellency María Juliana Ruiz, First Lady of Colombia, on the main theme of WHF New York, which is Building Forward Better through Hope. Building Forward Better recognizes the necessity to improve our policies regarding the Sustainable Development Goals, as building back better is simply not good enough. From education and the digital divide to childhood malnutrition, there are several areas in which we must work collaboratively with businesses, governments, and civil society to build forward with hope. So it is my, as I said, true pleasure to welcome Her Excellency. Welcome, Your Excellency. Thanks for joining us on WHF New York this year. It is such an honor and pleasure, as always, to have you with us.
Brian, once again, thank you and the World Humanitarian Forum for this invitation. As we were previously speaking, it is truly an honor for me to be part of this forum once again.
Thank you. Let me start with my first question then. We are in the decade of action on UNGA 76, and impact of COVID-19 is inevitable. What are your thoughts on the current circumstances, and what do we need to do to deliver on the decade of action?
Yes, you just mentioned COVID-19 has had a great impact around the world, and not only in physical and mental health. I would like to make a highlight here in mental health, because recently we've seen how so many kids, adolescents, and how the youth and how elderly has been affected far beyond physical effects. Emotional and mental health has also become really relevant as consequence of the pandemic. And we couldn't leave behind economic, political, and social dimensions as well. So 2020 was a year where we marked a turning point in the history of multilateral diplomacy. And I do believe we must reaffirm our commitment to fulfillment of the decade of action. You just say it. It's a whole decade of action. We have no time to lose. We must commit also in an international view. We must work more than ever as a community and establish a community network for something that you have heard me before, and is we must work as an interconnected population. That's the only way I can see we can reach a common goal as important, relevant, and decisive for the future as the SDGs. And of course, there's a long way to go to achieve this SDGs. And this is probably the reason we need to stay engaged, to stay together. And I believe something that the pandemic also highlighted is that we must go beyond the labels. It's not only saving lives and protecting the most vulnerable, it's really making those lives better. It's really understanding what social and specifically what sustainable development means. It goes beyond a one-time action, and it really stands for a progressive, for a coherent and a comprehensive and a collaborative action for the whole society, communities, and of course, humans around the world to improve. And I do believe that all those things that we've spoken for so many years, granting accesses to opportunities, closing gaps, protecting jobs, generating employment, all of that has to be done through a completely different perspective. And that means one objective, multiple actors and sectors working together for that specific purpose. And there's a word that for me means a lot, which is solidarity. It's probably one of the values, the virtues that for me was most required and highlighted through the pandemic. And in this decade, we need to give our greatest effort as an international community. This is a crucial moment for international solidarity. And we must nurture collaborative relationships between governments, public sector, private sector, civil society, academia, international organizations, I do believe in the power of multilateral cooperation as well. And why not say philanthropies as well? So we must be allies to fulfill this SDGs. And let me mention something that for me has been part of my flagships through this 3 years, which has been the youth. We spoke about this a couple of times before, you know, my feeling about the youth. And as First Lady, I really understand the whole meaning behind the youth when you speak about the future. So something that I would like to share is that thanks to our joint efforts, we managed to considerably increase our executive and operational capacity for the youth people in Colombia. We did that specifically by creating an ecosystem of strategies and objectives that integrated programs and actions for young people. And this for me has been decisive because this has proven in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, the power of coming up together for positive impact. And here as well, I would like to underline positive impact is not only impacting. We do need to understand that now more than ever, we are eager to get positive and to see positive impact in our societies. So I want to make a special emphasis in as that, you know this, I'm passionate about working with and for the youth people. I do admire their desire for transformation, that renewing impetus, and above all, that awareness and conviction that things can be better. Well, this is the time in life where the world is willing for us to become that better scenario for the future. So just to go back to what the pandemic led us, I also believe that the pandemic has opened our eyes in many ways, and that is probably the reasons why our national youth strategy, Sacúdete, for me has turned extremely important these days. You know, it develops training programs which focuses on development of essential skills. We were really engaged bringing together human skills and academic and professional skills, technical skills, but we do believe that it is also the moment to go back to the essentials, which means those principles and values that we must reinforce as humans. So we're looking forward to use this as skills to really foster and boost those talents of the youth. And we are willing to orient those talents and capacities and abilities towards the fourth industrial revolution skills as well. That means emphasizing on resilience, creativity, collaboration, critical capacity, communication. And this as well, you know, has been probably one of my major goals, and is to really understand the power of communicating. This is probably one of the things that makes humans what we are, is probably our major ability, and is to communicate, to express ourselves, to connect through words and ideas. And we must use them as a tool for well-being. So those are the skills and the education we're actually promoting through Sacúdete, with something that for me has been very important, and is also to reach the whole country, to go to the furthest and most left behind territories in the country, to connect those abilities, talents, and capabilities of the youth, that they are wherever you look in Colombia, you find a young man or a young woman full of knowledge, full of ideas, and full of willingness to use their potential to solve social problems in their communities, and And from there, of course, grow up to municipalities, departments, and that, of course, couldn't end up in anything different than the national well-being. So this has definitely signified an enormous challenge, since we've had to reinvent ourselves to deal with the pandemic and learn how to get the best out of adversity and how to come together in a time when everything was trying to bring us apart. So I would like to share probably a couple of things that we were able to achieve even through the pandemic for the youth. And I would like to highlight something in this: the youth participation. We were able to keep in contact with the youth, keep in contact with the territory, and come up with different solutions, very small ones, from very small ones to bigger ones, just to give the youth that power and that conscience that it is possible as well to connect for positive impact and well-being of their communities. So I do believe that there is also something that this pandemic has led us, and is the understanding, and that we all must change our mindset concerning what really means the youth participation, and is that young people have a powerful voice. They have innovative ideas. They are eager to improve the world, to be part of the solution as well. And we must see them as agents of positive change, not just as recipients of government policies or proclaimers of rights, but also to understand the power of duties and how to engage with them in order to achieve that social and sustainable development the world is looking forward to.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Such great words and commitments, really impressive, as always, really. Every time we have a conversation, I leave with inspiration. So thanks for these great passion and commitment. That's all I can say, really. You mentioned about education, and it is indeed very important, and it is seen as a key factor in building up all the SDGs. And education is possibly one of the most interconnected SDGs just because of this nature. While children and young people around the world have been taking classes online, this is not possible everywhere, and digital divide is very strong. Probably it's one of the challenges we have at the moment all around the world. What are the biggest barriers that we must overcome in getting past the digital divide, do you think?
I believe that to overcome the digital divide, we must define attention and mitigation routes in the possibilities of both internet access and mobile devices, as well as the processes of use and appropriation of ICT, which for me will turn vital. And this has been also something that has accompanied my work through these years, and is to understand that it's not only coming up with a one-time solution, let's say connectivity, let's say the tools for connectivity, call them phones, tablets, computers. It also means the content within, and it also means the responsibility of the use of it. So just let me list some of the Colombia's government strategies. I think I will pick a couple that for me are highlights of the values that we must engage when we talk about progress in terms of digital access and digital conversations as well, because I do believe that's going to be probably our main way of communicating and exchanging ideas. We're seeing how the technology and virtual communication is connecting us today. So one of the strategies or programs that I would like to highlight that Colombia has taken into progress is one that is called Navega TIC. which is an ambitious project which brings free internet and mobile phone services to almost 350,000 students with difficulties in accessing the services from official schools. This means from public schools. And it aims to be delivered to kids from 9th grade to 11th grade in Colombia. 11th grade is equivalent to 12th grade in most of the countries. And it is also aiming to get to the students from public universities, from the SENA, which is one of our institutions that provides technical education for those skills that doesn't really are directly linked to our professional activities, more connected towards I don't know how you call those oficios. I don't know if technical, yeah, probably just technical abilities.
Mm-hmm.
When you need a little bit more in terms of education in order to get professionalized, right? So this is a very interesting process in terms of providing the tools, right? And something that for me is extremely relevant in this process is also how we include gender equality in terms of education, and also breaking and solving that gap that we have in terms of education and gender education. And as a program that is called STEAM Girls, and is another initiative that is being carried out that, in addition to contributing to closing the digital device difficulty and the gap we have there, and is focused on encouraging new generations of women to take an interest in the STEAM fields from a virtual training and mentoring process that is mainly based on experimental activities and project development. We've seen already, and we've proved the power of this capacity building on the girls. And I do believe personally that is one of the major investments we should do in terms of interrupting and hopefully eradicating that gender gap that we have still in terms of education. And something that for me is relevant as well about this strategy is that this initiative not only focuses on girls knowing the operation of the programming language and the development of Internet of Things, programming, home automatization, robotics, and allowing interaction with other devices, but it also enables them to access the new world of the fourth industrial revolution. So this for me is taking the woman far beyond, and for me is not just steps forward, but jumps forward. And as I said before, education is fundamental, not only in the sense of the academic content that is taught, but also in the skills. And in this way, there's another program that I would like to highlight that I personally, I lead for it, I promote it, I really feel the program gets to the core of knowledge and understanding of the use of technology, that is called En TIC Confío. This is sort of like, in IT, I trust. And it's a program that we reach out to pedagogical support so that thousands of children, adolescents, youth, and even adults strengthen their digital skills by making safe, responsible, and active use of the internet, social networking, and of course, all the digital platforms that for me have become the major scenario for, as I said before, building our future conversations. We must understand the power that communication has and how fast it goes when we are talking about social networking. So you probably heard me saying this before, and I do believe that we must build up human networks prior to social networks in order to be absolutely responsible on the way we use social networks and on the way we communicate, on the way we share not only information but knowledge, which for me is also extremely important in order to reach sustainable development.
Thank you, Your Excellency. You mentioned gender equality, and it is really an important factor in building forward better dialogue. And we can only build forward better together through hope with an equal society. Yes, we need to educate our girls, we need to provide an equal environment, but also there is still a lack of female leaders, unfortunately. How else can we empower women leadership, do you think?
Sure. Well, as I said before, I must say something. I do believe that example starts at home, and that there is always an opportunity to start. So I would like to highlight that in Colombia, the government of President Duque has established a policy of gender equality, and we've had exceptional women leaders at the most relevant ministries and entities. And I would also like to highlight that for the first time in Colombia's history, and since 3 years ago, we have a woman vice president who's now also the foreign minister for Colombia. So I believe that once you start showing up with actions, with real purpose, and as a real mission, what gender equality means, then you're definitely setting up the starting point. So I also want to share probably some of the principal initiatives on gender equality that we have been implementing. There's one that I consider extremely important. And this one, I believe we must start working on since early childhood, and is to have more women in economics. The generation of economic opportunities for women through quality employment. This is something that has been working on in Colombia, that the vice president has actually been leading, and is really a potential, a tool for life when you start introducing girls to this kind of programs, because it basically promotes women's entrepreneurship in ICT and STEM. So I do believe this is probably one of the most important ones that is also linked at what we were talking before, which is education and the kind of education that both women and men receive. There is another one that is called More Women in Politics. As I just mentioned, the government of President Duque set up the line with the gender equality in the government. And it really aims to promote a greater participation of women in politics. We've achieved, as I said before, parity lists, and we are implementing the National School of Political Training for Women, which also is linked once again to education. There's another one that for me has a specific meaning, which is women free of violence. As we've spoke before in some of the forums and the spaces we've had the opportunity to share with you, Faraye, you know that I have been leading a cause of zero tolerance of any kind of violence against children, adolescents, and the youth. And this, of course, has a gender special action. So that's why this program, Women Free of Violence, is relevant in our country as a strategy of articulation with women secretaries through the articulation mechanism for prevention and care of violence. And here I would like to also mention something that is really important, and is that it's a transversal vision of gender equality. It's not just a specific sector of the government, it's not a specific area at a school, is not a specific kind of education you should give to is completely the opposite. Is how you understand that gender equality is just a transversal mindset. We must see it as a mindset. We shouldn't be having to go to specify gender actions, right? So that is one of the reasons why I consider this extremely important, because working with also with the women secretaries throughout the country, because we are divided in departments and municipalities. Probably you know this before. We have 32 departments and then 1,103 municipalities. And once you have all of them working together, using the same language, understanding the importance of women, not as a specific issue on government, politics, education, but as a base of a complete and enriched civil society, that means we're all on the same page. And probably one of the actions or strategies that I will also highlight is the institutionality in favor of women, and is the creation and strengthening of women secretaries that I was mentioning before. We didn't have this before in Colombia. And now through those secretaries, we've had the capillarity to reach the territory and to work from the nation towards the territories and from the territories towards the nation. Like that has been for me probably one of the most important things, and is to listen the territory, to connect with the territory, to invert a little bit that scale that we had to work bottom up and up to the bottom, and understand that we do need to start listening and working bottom up. So this for me has been also one of the most strong initiatives, and is the institutionality in favor of women that definitely has allowed us to reach the whole country and work together in a unique cause of gender equality. It is probably the first time that the 32 departments as well work together on their development plans and have a specific chapter in their development plans that are in favor of women's rights. So those are probably the four main strategies that I would like to share with you.
That is just fantastic. Thank you so much. You have emphasized the importance of cooperation and togetherness, and fulfilling the SDGs will take increased cooperation and togetherness. What messages do you think need to be relayed to the world leaders as we meet at the 76th session of UNGA? What will be your message of action, your call to action?
Faraya, you know this very well, is that in my case, as a goodwill ambassador in Colombia for SDG 17, this is part of my role, but it's also part of my mindset and part of the capacities that I identify in my role as First Lady, and is that power of convening and the power of advocacy as responsibilities of my role as First Lady. So I do believe on multilateral actions. My message today is that we do not forget the global compact that we made in 2015 with the purpose of establishing a future for all without exception through these 17 sustainable development goals. And mainly that we continue to work together in projects that benefit local, national, regional, and international communities. And that we must work, including strategic actors in the public, private sector, civil society, academia, cooperation, international cooperation. And we must continue as a whole. We must continue as a real community. I do believe in the power of connecting, And that is probably one of the major boosters to reach that agenda, 2030 agenda. And as I said, sometimes we must see the opportunities among adversity. And what the pandemic has also made us see is that since we are all humans, we all share a lot of things. And we all share the willingness of a better future. So we must work together for it. So probably my message to finish would be that we must work united with the aim of reaching a future for humanitarian aid and international sustainable development in order to help improve the lives of millions in need. Likewise, there is also something really important, and that we don't know who are the ones that are going to be in the future. That's also probably for me one of the biggest reflections from the pandemic, is that we are all vulnerable in some way. So likewise, in the midst of the current health and social crisis, we must join forces together to prevent the people of the world from becoming separated and to become isolated. Now we see also how so many things arose after the pandemic in terms, as I said before, of mental health, emotional health, how some of the differences we had just got stronger. And that's the reason why we must work hard to make the things that united us more visible and more stronger than those that divide us. So this is probably the time to get closer than ever and to zone and building for our humanity, and to establish solidarity and empathy as our fundamental principles. So there's something really important here as well, and is also part of this forum, of all the importance of scenarios like the one we're sharing right now. And is that as inspiring figures involved in decision-making processes, we have an enormous responsibility to rethink and to innovate in ways to protect and grant opportunities for the people. And you've heard this before, and is that for me, I believe that to establish healthy and prosperous environments is the only way we can improve living conditions that will make us connect and bond through humanity.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It has always been a pleasure to have you with us. And thank you so much once again for the strong messages, strong words that will inspire humanity, I think. Thank you so much once again.